ॐ परतत्त्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्णसमाज्ञया यो धर्मस्थापनरतो वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहम्. We are studying Swami Vivekananda's Raj Yoga. We are in the third chapter, and the name of the chapter is Prana. And we have studied about half of that chapter. And we have seen that prana is not breath. Prana is the fundamental energy. Akasha is the primordial space, primordial matter, indiscrete matter. And when the prana functions on that, it changes its forms and becomes gross. And that is what we see. Prana also becomes gross then. Because the thought process also is prana force. So first it works on the subtle, then the subtle matter becomes gross, and prana also becomes gross. That is the process. This we have studied. And second point we have studied is that whole universe is one. There is nothing called my body and your body. They are only vortexes in the river. If I pull one particle of matter anywhere, the whole world is pulled. The effect will be felt less or more according to distance and other matters. But the pull will be felt everywhere. This one has to understand. The whole world, whether the sun moves around the earth or earth moves around the sun, nothing is fixed in this world. There is a flux, continuous change. And that change is interconnected. So my mind will work on your mind will work on my mind through the universal. So that is the nearest is our body, nearest is our lungs function, where the prana is functioning. So through that if we enter and reach the origin of prana, then we control the whole world. That is the process. And that Swamiji has described. And now we come to this page 40 in the smaller book. 41 in the smaller book. The most obvious manifestation of this prana in the human body is the motion of the lungs. If that stops as a rule, all the other manifestation of force in the body will immediately stop. You understand this? If the lungs stop, then everything will stop. But there are persons who can train themselves in such a manner that the body will live on even when this motion has stopped. Through kumbhak and other processes, they do this. Hatha yogis get themselves buried for about 1 month and come out. So, by practice, they learn. There are some persons who can, Swami has told that. There are some persons who can bury themselves for days and yet live without breathing. I have not seen this burying, but I have seen the person who is known to have done this. To reach the subtle, we must take the help of the grosser and so slowly travel toward the most subtle until we gain our point. That is the origin. Pranayama really means controlling this motion of the lungs. And this motion is associated with the breath. Associated with the breath. Actually, pumping motion is in the lungs. Not that breath is producing it. On the contrary, it is producing breath. Understood, na? When the pump works, then breath comes in work. Breath does not work upon that. The motion draws in the air by pump action. The prana is moving the lungs. The movement of the lungs draws in the air. So pranayama is not breathing, but controlling that muscular power which moves the lungs. That muscular power which goes out through the nerve to the muscles and from them to the lungs, making them move in a certain manner is the prana, which you have to control in the practice of pranayama. When the prana has become controlled, then we shall immediately find that all the other actions of the prana in the body will slowly come under control. Understand this point? In our body, the prana starts functioning from there. So if that we can control, then all the motions in the body can be controlled. I myself have seen men who have controlled almost every muscle of the body. And why not? If I have control over certain muscle, why not over every muscle and nerve of the body? That means when we practice it is done. And when we do not practice it, that power lapses. What impossibility is there? At present the control is lost and the motion has become automatic. We do not say that we are breathing. Breathing is going on. We cannot move our ears at will, but we know that animals can. We have not that power because we do not exercise it. This is what is called atavism. In Darwinian theory, this is one word, atavism. Evolution, if we do not use certain things, it lapses. My friend used to move his ear. My classmate, one of them, had practiced, he could move his ear. So what Swamiji is telling, he has seen persons. Yes, just by will. Just we move our hands, animals move their, you have seen cows moving their ears. Now we have hands. So cows drive away their mosquitoes or this by the ear movement. We do not require it, so we are not using it. Therefore it has lapsed. So if by will power we just exert and we will move, it moves. One of my friends used to show movement. Actually, it is the will which is supreme. Winston Churchill, during the height of the war, had become paralyzed. Had it become known to the world, the history would have changed. So he determined that 1 week from today I will shave myself. And every day he started exercising. And after 7 days he shaved himself. So the world did not know. Later on in history would be said. So if we practice and apply the will, it happens. Again we know that motion which has become latent can be brought back to manifestation. By hard work and practice, certain motions of the body which are most dormant can be brought back under perfect control. Reasoning thus we find there is no impossibility, but on the other hand, every probability that each part of the body can be brought under perfect control. This the yogi does through pranayama. I told you 1 or 2 incidents, no? That spear. You are not present in the last class? I have seen that. In our school, some yogis used to come. Now spear, that point is put at the neck of that man, and the other at some wall. And then he walks, bends the whole pole, and comes very near the wall. Nothing happens to his throat. Another example which I have heard, it was in books or newspapers. One person named Ramurthy, I remember even the name, in Tamil Nadu or South India somewhere, or Mumbai actually. A motor car was tied with ropes. And this person used to hold that rope in his teeth and walk, and they pulled motor behind him. So these are our manifestation of pranayama. Perhaps some of you have read that in pranayama, when drawing in the breath, you must fill your whole body with prana. In the English translation, prana is given as breath. And you are inclined to ask how that is to be done. How the whole body can be filled with breath. The fault is with the translator. Every part of the body can be filled with prana. This vital force, the prana, the vital force. And when you are able to do that, you can control the whole body. All the sickness and misery felt in the body will be perfectly controlled. Misery also is feeling, because the mind also are waves. That also can be controlled. Not only so, you will be able to control another's body. Because if you go to the origin of the prana, we can direct it anywhere. Everything is infectious in this world, good or bad. If your body be in a certain state of tension, it will have a tendency to produce the same tension in others. If you are strong and healthy, those that live near you will also have the tendency to become strong and healthy. But if you are sick and weak, those around you will have the tendency to become the same. In this case of one man trying to heal another, the first idea is simply transferring his own health to the other. This is the primitive sort of healing. Primitive means old people knew this. Old generation are primitive man. So this was the, before medicines and all that, this was the process. Consciously or unconsciously, health can be transmitted. A very strong man living with a weak man will make him a little stronger, whether he knows it or not. When consciously done, it becomes quicker and better in its action. Next come those cases in which a man may not be very healthy himself. Yet we know that he can bring health into another. The first man in such a case has a little more control over the prana and can arouse for the time being his prana, as it were, to a certain state of vibration and transmit it to another person. You have heard of processes, Reiki and pranic healing, and they are all like this. Whom I was telling that day? Last class only one of you were there. I have undergone Reiki treatment. This is originated from Tibet, Lamas. There have been cases where this process has been carried on at a distance. This also I was telling that day. One man, one of my friends, a sannyasi in Rishikesh, he used to practice Reiki. Now some person known to me was sick. So I told him, can you do? He said, yes, send me a full-size photo of that person. So I asked that person to send a photo. And then with that photo he used to do the Reiki. So in this subtle world, things are interconnected. But in reality, there is no distance in the sense of a break. In the sense of a break, that means it is here and that is there. It is connected. Where is the distance that has a break? Is there any break between you and the sun? Because empty space is not believed in. All is Akash. It is a continuous mass of matter, the sun being one part and you another. Is there a break between one part of a river and another? Then why cannot any force travel? There is no reason against it. Cases of healing from a distance are perfectly true. The prana can be transmitted to a very great distance, but to one genuine case there are hundreds of frauds. This process of healing is not so easy as it is thought to be. In the most ordinary cases of such healing, you will find that the healers simply take advantage of the naturally healthy state of the human body, and the allopath comes and treats cholera patients and gives them his medicine. The homeopath comes and gives his medicine and cures perhaps more than the allopath does, because the homeopath does not disturb his patients but allows nature to deal with them. You know how homeopathy works? No. If you administer something, any chemical, salt, then the body reacts. If that body is reacting, salt is the solution. The salt is given in atomic form, in a very, very minute form. So, it has a tendency, the body will produce that type of reaction. So, the medicine for a disease is that which has caused the disease. That is homeopathy. And sometimes they talk of aggravation, that you have heard this word, very common in homeopathy. Because that symptom has started working. And if there is aggravation, they will say now it will get cured. It is a sign of cure that aggravation comes. Thakur is making fun of this. They will say aggravation, the patient is dead, and they will say wait. But allows nature to deal with them. The faith healer cures more still, because he brings the strength of his mind to bear and rouses through faith the dormant prana of the patient. There is a mistake constantly made by faith healers. They think that faith directly heals a man. You understand? You believe that you are all right. You believe that you are all right. Then you will be cured. Swami, this is not true. Prana functions. But faith alone does not cover all the ground. There are diseases where the worst symptoms are that the patient never thinks that he has the disease. So he does not believe he has the disease, but the disease has taken place. So faith is not directly working. That tremendous faith of the patient is itself one symptom of the disease. Mental diseases, a mad person will never believe he is mad. You are mad, he will say. And usually indicates that he will die quickly. In such cases, the principle that faith cures does not apply. If it were faith alone that cured, these patients also would be cured. It is by the prana that real curing comes. The pure man who has controlled the prana has the power of bringing it into a certain state of vibration which can be conveyed to others, arousing in them a similar vibration. You see that in everyday actions. I am talking to you. What am I trying to do? I am, so to say, bringing my mind to a certain state of vibration, and the more I succeed in bringing it to that state, the more you will be affected by what I say. All of you know that the day I am more enthusiastic, the more you enjoy the lecture. And when I am less enthusiastic, you feel lack of interest. The gigantic will powers of the world movers, can bring their prana into a high state of vibration. And it is so great and powerful that it catches others in a moment, and thousands are drawn towards them, and half the world think as they do. Great prophets of the world had the most wonderful control of the prana, which gave them tremendous will power, that brought their prana to the highest state of motion And this is what gave them power to sway the world. All manifestation of power arise from this control. Men may not know the secret, but this is the one explanation. Sometimes in your own body, the supply of prana gravitates more or less to one path. This is how India had the system, primitive system. Not symptomatic or this or that. They judge where the prana is functioning improperly and they direct their prana to that place. It cures. The Vaidya, he directs the prana of that person to that part. How the Vaidya works, do you know? Ayurvedic doctor you have visited sometime? No. None of you. Compare it to your experience. If you go to allopath, he will say do this test, that test, that test, that test. If you go to homeopath, he will ask so many symptoms right from your father or grandfather. If you go to a Vaidya proper, he will not ask anything. He will ask you to give your hand and he will put his 3 fingers on this pulse. And through that he will come to know everything. I remember, we have only to say yes or no. He will put, oh, you are coughing, huh? Evening it is more, na? Like that. We have to only say yes, yes, yes. So much they have trained them. Thakura said, if you have to become Vaidya, you have to practice with them. Then only you can do. So the prana function is detected through the nerve.
Subhash
Homeopath. He had become a top homeopath. Good homeopaths used to sit with him as learning from him. Sometimes in your own body, the supply of prana gravitates more or less to one path. The balance is disturbed. And when the balance of prana is disturbed, what we call disease is produced. To take away the superfluous prana or to supply the prana that is wanting will be curing the disease. That again is pranayama. To learn when there is more or less prana in one part of the body than there should be. The feelings will become so subtle that the mind will feel that there is less prana in the toe or in the finger than there should be, and will possess the power to supply it. These are among the various functions of prana. So Swamiji is describing pranayama here and its functions. They have to be learned slowly and gradually. And as you see, the whole scope of Raja Yoga is really to teach the control and direction in different planes of the prana. This is not directly mentioned by Patanjali. Swamiji has learned it. When a man has concentrated his energies, he masters the prana that is in his body. When a man is meditating, he is also concentrating the prana. In an ocean there are huge waves like mountains, then smaller waves and still smaller down to little bubbles. But back of all this is the infinite ocean. The bubble is connected with the infinite ocean at one end and the huge wave at the other end. So one may be a gigantic man and another a little bubble, but each is connected with that infinite ocean of energy, which is the common birthright of every animal that exists. Wherever there is life, the storehouse of infinite energy is behind it. starting as some fungus, some very minute microscopic bubble, and all the time drawing from the infinite storehouse of energy, a form is changed slowly and steadily until in course of time it becomes a plant. Then an animal, then man. Darwinian evolution is explaining. Ultimately God. You see, Darwinian evolution is 1/4. First, because every evolution presupposes involution, congestion, so half. And up to man, bodily evolution is complete. After man, the mind evolves. And so when the evolution of man takes place, it becomes God. That is evolution. This is attained through millions of aeons. But what is time? That means in nature. But what is time? An increase of speed, an increase of struggle is able to bridge the gulf of time. Patanjali Sutra is there, Tivra Samveganam Asanna. How much time it will take? If you are more intense, it is near, like that is. That which naturally takes a long time to accomplish can be shortened by the intensity of the action, says the yogi. A man may go on slowly drawing this energy from the infinite mass that exists in the universe, and perhaps he will require 100,000 years to become a deva. And then perhaps 500,000 years to become still higher in the course of nature. And perhaps 5 millions of years to become perfect. Given the rapid growth, the time will be lessened. Why is it not possible with sufficient effort to reach this very perfection in 6 months or 6 years? Millions of years. There is no limit. Reason shows that. If an engine with a certain amount of coal runs 2 miles an hour, it will run the distance in less time with a greater supply of coal. Similarly, why shall not the soul, by intensifying its action, attain perfection in this very life? All beings will at last attain to that goal, we know. Because this is not in Raj Yoga, because we are potential Brahman. That is why we shall become Brahman one day. But it will take time. But who cares to wait all these millions of eons? Eons means yuga. Why not reach it immediately in this body, even in this human form? Why shall I not get that infinite knowledge, infinite power now? The ideal of the yogi, the whole science of yoga, is directed to the end of teaching men how, by intensifying the power of assimilation, to shorten the time for reaching perfection. Instead of slowly advancing from point to point and waiting until the whole human race has become perfect. All the great prophets, saints, and seers of the world, what did they do? In one span of life, they lived the whole life of humanity. Traversed the whole length of time that it takes ordinary humanity to come to perfection. In one life they perfect themselves, they have no thought for anything else. Then only this happens. Never leave a moment for any other idea. And thus the way is shortened for them. So as soon as there are digressions, this does not come. One point pains me when I see in others. The desire for food. Food is necessary for the body, is a different thing. But the indulgence in taste, that takes away our energy. This is what is meant by concentration, intensifying the power of assimilation. So Patanjali connects, Patanjali teaches concentration. So through concentration, Swamiji is telling prana comes under control. Rajoga is a science which teaches us how to gain the power of concentration. Now Swamiji is dealing with various manifestations of this prana and pranayama. We have heard of some physical just now. What has pranayama to do with spiritualism? You know this word? Spiritualism? No. Spirituality and spiritualism. Spirituality, spirit means Atma. So spirituality means evolution of nature and manifestation of soul. That is what we are trying. Now spirit also means the subtler parts of the body. And indulging in that is spiritualism. Planchet, have you heard? Planchet? Abhedhan Swamiji's books you read. Abhedhan Swamiji used to indulge in that. A man is dead. He is in some local, so they call that man. Some machine, something is there. And that man, that his message will be typed. Theosophy indulges in this very much. And it's not properly directed, it is very disturbing. I know one case in Nagpur or Gwalior, I have forgotten now. One lady lost her child, that means dead. Somebody said, I will help you. And then he used to bring that child on the planchet. And he wants milk and all that. Now that lady's life became miserable afterwards. What has pranayama to do with spiritualism? Spiritualism is also a manifestation of pranayama. If it be true that the departed spirits exist, only we cannot see them, it is quite probable that there may be hundreds and millions of them about us we can neither see, feel nor touch. These different lokas are only different states of vibration. Somebody may be here, subtler. We do not see them. We may be continuously passing and repassing through their bodies, and they do not see or feel us. It is a circle within a circle, universe within universe. We have five senses, and we represent prana in a certain state of vibration. All beings in the same state of vibration will see one another, but if there are beings who represent prana in a higher state of vibration, they will not be seen. They may see us, but we will not see them. We may increase the intensity of a light until we cannot see it at all. You know this? Light are rays from this wavelength to that wavelength. If the wavelength is more, then what we get? You heard of ultraviolet light? Infrared? Appearance is red, but it is actually infrared. It is heat for fermentation that is used. And for treating cancer and all that, ultraviolet rays are used. So ultraviolet means beyond violet. We cannot see. Infrared also we cannot see. Below red. The whole Panchendriyas are only waves of certain range. Supersonic, you have heard? Airplane. That means it goes more than velocity of sound. So you do not hear at all. It is gone. Big jets, you will see the smoke, but you will not hear the sound. Again, if its vibrations are very low, we do not see a light. But there are animals that may see it, as cats and owls. Difference between cats and owls, you know? Cats can see in night also and in day also. Owls can see only in the night, they cannot see in the day. Cats have a bigger range, owls have very limited range. In the night, but we cannot see, they will see. Our range of vision is only one plane of the vibrations of this pranayama. Take this atmosphere for instance, it is piled up layer on layer, but the layers nearer to the earth are denser than those above. And as you go higher, the atmosphere becomes finer and finer. They have to carry oxygen when they climb Mount Everest and all that. Or take the case of the ocean. As you go deeper and deeper, the pressure of the water increases, and animals which live at the bottom of the sea can never come up, or they will be broken into pieces. They are under so much pressure. If that pressure is not there, they will break. Think of the universe as an ocean of ether. Ether is, I told you, the scientific idea about Akash, consisting of layer after layer of varying degrees of vibration under the action of prana. Away from the center, the vibrations are less. Nearer to it, they become quicker and quicker. That means center the vibration source. Then as distance goes, they become lesser and lesser. Nearer to it, they become quicker and quicker. One order of vibration makes one plane. Then suppose these ranges of vibrations are cut into planes. So many millions of miles, one set of vibration, and then so many millions of miles, another still higher set of vibration, and so on. It is therefore probable that those who live on the plane of a certain state of vibration will have the power of recognizing one another, but will not recognize those above them. The Theosophists believe that there are 7 Mahatmas in the Himalayas, and those who can come contact with them, they will become wise. Yet, just as by the telescope and the microscope, we can increase the scope of our vision, similarly we can by yoga bring ourselves into the state of vibration of another plane and thus enable ourselves to see what is going on there. Suppose this room is full of beings whom we do not see. They represent prana in a certain state of vibration, while we represent another. Suppose they represent a quick one, and we the opposite. Prana is the material of which they are composed as well as we. Akasha and prana, all are parts of the same ocean of prana. They differ only in their state of vibration. If I can bring myself to the quick vibration, this plane will immediately change for me. That is how they go to lokas. So Thakur is telling, I went to this loka, that loka, sitting there only. I shall not see you anymore. You vanish and they appear. Some of you perhaps know this to be true. Those who have done sadhana may be knowing that this is true. All this bringing of this mind into a higher state of vibration is included in one word in yoga, samadhi. Samadhi, your plane of living has changed. All these states of higher vibration, superconscious vibrations of the mind, are grouped in that one word, samadhi, and the lower states of samadhi give us visions of these beings. So, several orders of samadhi. When we go beyond our state, we call it samadhi. In the lower state, we see these beings. When you go still higher, we do not see them. The highest grade of samadhi is when we see the real thing. when we see the material out of which the whole of these grades of beings are composed, and that one lump of clay being known, we know all the clay in the universe. The fundamental matter. Thus we see that pranayama includes all that is true of spiritualism even. This is all field of spiritualism. Similarly, you will find that wherever any sect or body of people is trying to search out anything occult and mystical or hidden, what they are doing is really this yoga, this attempt to control the prana. You will find that wherever there is any extraordinary display of power, it is a manifestation of this prana. Even the physical sciences can be included in pranayama, because concentration in certain fields. What moves the steam engine? Prana. Acting through the steam. What are all these phenomena of electricity and so forth but prana? What is physical science? The science of pranayama by external means. Prana, manifesting itself as mental power, can only be controlled by mental means. That part of pranayama which attempts to control the physical manifestations of the prana by physical means is called physical science. And that part which tries to control the manifestation of the prana as mental force by mental means is called Raja Yoga. Now in the ancient warfare, we hear of Agnastra, Parjanastra, so that is all control. And Swamiji has said, the more we are developing science, the less we are, that means that power is going less and less of mental powers. Chapter over. Because it was a general description of prana. Now we are dealing with mind here mainly. So in the next chapter, the psychic prana. Psychic means mental. The philosophical or technical word is psychic. What is the body and mind? What did the doctor say? Na? Psychosomatic complex. According to the yogis, there are two nerve currents in the spinal column. Kundalini, Swamiji has come to. Patanjali does not talk of Kundalini. There is no mention of the word Kundalini in Patanjali. It is a systematic textbook, that's all. Called Pingala and Ida. And a hollow canal called Sushumna running through the spinal cord. At the lower end of the hollow canal is what the yogis call the lotus of the Kundalini. Yogis call. That means in subtler perception when you go, you will see the lotus. It is not a physical lotus. They describe it as triangular in form. In the subtler perception, they can see it. In which, in the symbolical language of the yogis, there is a power called the Kundalini coiled up. Kundalini meaning itself is coiled up. Kundalini means like this, coiled. When that Kundalini awakes, it tries to force a passage through this hollow canal. And as it rises step by step, as it were, layer after layer of the mind becomes open, and all the different visions and wonderful powers come to the yogi. When it reaches the brain, the yogi is perfectly detached from the body and mind. The soul finds itself free. We know that the spinal cord is composed in a peculiar manner. If we take the figure 8 horizontally, You have seen figure is given. There are two parts which are connected in the middle. Suppose you add 8 after 8 piled on the top of the other, you are getting that 8, 8, 8, 8 like this. So Ida and Pingala. And then that is very thin, Sushumna. That will represent the spinal cord. The left is the Ida, the right Pingala, and that hollow canal which runs through the center of the spinal cord is the Sushumna. Where the spinal cord ends in some of the lumbar vertebrae, a fine fiber issues downwards, and the canal runs up even within that fiber, only much finer. Above is vertebrae. That means then this thread becomes still very finer till it reaches the brain. The canal is closed at the lower end, which is situated near what is called the sacral plexus. Muladhara, which according to modern physiology is triangular in form. The different plexuses that have these centers in the spinal canal can very well stand for the different lotuses of the yogi. Plexuses. They are where the Reiki works. The yogi conceives of several centers, beginning with the Muladhara, the basic, and ending with the Sahasrara, the 1,000-petal lotus in the brain. So if we take these different plexuses representing these lotuses, the idea of the yogi can be understood very easily in the language of modern physiology. We know there are two sorts of actions in these nerve currents, one afferent, the other efferent. That means going towards and going away from. One sensory and the other motor. One centripetal and the other centrifugal. Going towards center is called centripetal. Going away from the center is centrifugal. One carries the sensations to the brain and the other from the brain to the outer body. These vibrations are all connected with the brain in the long run. Several other facts you have to remember in order to clear the way for the explanations which is to come. The spinal cord at the brain ends in a sort of bulb in the medulla, in the brain, which is not attached to the brain, but floats in a fluid in the brain. So that if there is a blow on the head, the force of that blow will be dissipated in the fluid and will not hurt the bulb. If there is a tremendous force, different. Otherwise, if there is a heat, otherwise the brain would have become destroyed immediately. But it is a bulb in a fluid. So that force is absorbed in the fluid. This is an important fact to remember. Secondly, we have also to know that of all the centers, we have particularly remember three. The Muladhara, the basic, the Sahasrara, the 1,000-petal lotus of the brain, and the Manipur, the lotus of the navel. There is one more, Swadhisthana. Muladhara, Swadhisthana, and this Manipur. When the Kundalini is moving in these three, man knows only eating and sex. Only when it crosses, that is important. When it crosses that Manipur and rises to the heart, then only we feel Chetana. Next we shall take one fact from physics. We all hear of electricity and various other forces connected with it. What electricity is, no one knows. But so far as it is known, it is a sort of motion. Now it is known. What is electricity? When the electrons move all together in a particular direction, it is electric current. In Swamiji's time, this was not there. The nuclear physics was not there. But Swamiji talks such that he is anticipating all this. Suppose this table moves, that the molecules, Swamiji is calling them molecules, that the molecules which compose this table are moving in different directions. If they are all made to move in the same direction, it will be through electricity. Swamiji is calling that molecules, that's all. Electric motion makes the molecules of a body move in the same direction. If all the air molecules in a room are made to move in the same direction, it will make a gigantic battery of electricity of the room. Another point from physiology we must remember that the center which regulates the respiratory system, the breathing system, has a sort of controlling action over the system of nerves. So preliminary Swamiji described. Now we shall see why breathing is practiced. In the first place, from rhythmical breathing comes a tendency of all the molecules in the body to move in the same direction. Rhythmic means taking in and taking out is measured. Otherwise, our breath is very irregularly moving. When mind changes into will is concentration again. The nerve currents change into a motion similar to electricity. Because the nerves have been proved to show polarity under the action of electric currents. You know this point. Now in this ECG and all that, they put electrodes here, there, and they measure the electricity in the body. In Lonavala, you have heard of a name, Lonavala town? Between Bombay and Pune, there is a hill station called Lonavala. And in Lonavala, there is an institute called Kaivalya Dham. And they measure all mental functions, samadhi and all, through physical science. They will put electrodes here and there and measure what happens when a man is in samadhi like that. This shows that when the wheel is transformed into nerve current, it is changed into something like electricity. When all the motions of the body have become perfectly rhythmical, the body has become a gigantic battery of will. This tremendous will is exactly what the yogi wants. This is therefore a physiological explanation of the breathing exercise. It tends to bring a rhythmic action in the body and helps us through the respiratory center to control the other centers. The aim of pranayama is to rouse the coiled up power in the Muladhara called the Kundalini. In meditation, something is taught like that. No? In yoga only it will be taught. That you bring the prana like this and through that hit on that Kundalini. It's all mental process. Everything that we see, imagine or dream, we have to perceive in space. Now, space Swamiji is explaining. This is the ordinary space called the Mahakasha or elemental space. Mahakasha means outside. When a yogi reads the thoughts of others men or pursues supersensuous objects, he sees them in another sort of space called the Chittakasha, the mental space. When we think, we see objects, na? Yogi or no yogi. But objects are always seen in space. And we are seeing it in the mind. So that is called Chittakasha, space in the mind. When perception has become objectless and the soul shines in its own nature, it is called Chidakasha. Actually, they say there is no Akasha. Chid itself is Akasha. But we are habituated to see objects in space. So where do we see ourselves? In the Chidakasha. Or knowledge space. Chitta and Chit. Chitta is the mind and Chit is consciousness. When the Kundalini is aroused and enters the canal of the Sushumna, all the perceptions are in the mental space. When it has reached that end of the canal which opens out into the brain, the objectless perception is in the knowledge space. Perception is there, but there is no object. Objects are in the mental plane. Physical plane, mental plane. Beyond the mind there is no objects. Perception is there of oneself. Taking the analogy of electricity, we find that man can send a current only along a wire. But nature requires no wires to send her tremendous currents. This proves that the wire is not really necessary, but that only our inability to dispense with it compels us to use it. Footnote is given. The reader should remember that this was spoken before the discovery of wireless telegraphy. So Swamiji has anticipated all these things. Now it has become very common, very common. Somewhere some tower is there, and we hear there, anywhere we catch it. Okay, we stop here. This little remaining chapter and the next chapter we can perhaps cover next. Om Paratatve Sada Lino Ramakrishna Samagya Yo Dharma Sthapana Rato Viresham Tam Namamyam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam.